Hello everyone watching at home. Welcome to round 4 of Legacy. This is the Legacy Challenge from Adelaide Eternal. I'm Sarven McLinton in the booth with Beckett Wolfe.
G'day guys.
So we have a matchup here between Socrates Stavropoulos on Storm and Jay Baskaran on Delver. Grixis Delver. So which list would you like to see first?
Check out your list, Sab. I mean Jay's list.
I don't pretend to have any novel inclusions in my Grixis Delver list. Most Grixis Delver lists are about 56 cards the same. And in the different slots, we have Spell Pierce and Dismember for Jay. I run Stifle. And then the sideboard is always a whole bunch of awesome cards. So if you guys haven't played Delver before, basically your goal is to land your turn 1 Delver and then ride it to victory with some counter spells. And if you need to do other things to your opponent along the way, you have to. Cabal Therapy is pretty good there with Young Pyromancer. So shall we have a look at Sock's list?
Sock's list, Sock, Standard, Storm.
It is definitely a stock standard storm
yeah.
Because the stock standard storm lists don't have a transformative sideboard like he's got.
Yes.
Yeah, he's so in his main deck he's going with the Grim Tutor option, which is one of the flex slots in storm builds. It used to be Ad Nauseam in the main, and he's moved his Ad Nauseam to the sideboard. Also, for the sideboard, he's decided to go with the Reanimator package. So he's got a Grizzlebrand, which he can entomb or Shallow Grave.
Seems really good. And I think you were saying earlier, Sav, that the ability to entomb Past in Flames isn't terrible anyway itself. So even if you're not going for the Grizzlebrand, just going entomb Past in Flames.
The plan there being that you have your LEDs on the battlefield and you can activate them for 6 mana and then cast your Past in Flames for 5 and then start your Ritual Chain.
Let's see if he does it.
All right, well, the players have rolled and we're going to find out.
They've rolled too many dice.
There's a lot of dice going around at the moment. So Socrates rolls
just
some number.
Takes up time to do maths.
He has rolled just an amount.
So we already know that...
We know that someone is on the play. That's what we know.
Someone's on the play. They should just roll odds evens.
Yeah.
It's not really many arguments.
I think he got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that. He actually rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's probably... If you roll that, you go first. Is that right? That if you roll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's first person to roll in 5 sequential orders. You don't have to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You could get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right.
But as long as you get it in sequential order, I believe you go last.
What is that? A full house? Is that what we call it? So here we have Jay's drawing.
Straight, so.
Straight. I don't know. I don't play poker. My card game of choice is Magic the Gathering. So here's a hand from Socrates: Lotus Petal,
Duress,
2 fetches, double
it's
duress,
decent.
Ponder, and Dark Ritual. Very, very decent.
Obviously, duress is in the storm list to add up your storm count sometimes. Hit Force of Wills before you go off, but just to be able to play them in an unknown meta against an unknown deck, leading with a duress there seems decent. And Jay, classic mistake from Jay, holding his hand up too high.
It happens all the time, doesn't it? We've seen it. We've seen it every tournament. So I did spot in his hand. He had
looked like a few blue spells.
Yeah, he had Spell Pierce. He had Cabal Therapy. He had 2 lands, I think, and that's all I really picked out. But if he's got a Delver of Secrets in there, it's going to be pretty sweet. So this is a duress, probably, from Socrates first. So when you do have a hand in Storm and you've got 2 duresses, are you the kind of person that will go duress turn 1, when you go back to your turn, duress again off the Dark Ritual and start your chain? Or do you like to do which I've seen, do you like to do the old Dark Ritual turn 1, double duress, and then try and go off turn 1?
I definitely do not like the second option.
Yeah, neither do I.
I like the former option. You're not really going to lose the game. I mean, you might, but you're not really going to lose the game if you turn 1 duress someone, right?
Yeah. So here's the hand. We've got Spell Pierce, Ponder, Cabal Therapy, and it's 4 lands. So the other 2 are lands, one of which is a Wasteland. And Underground Sea, Wasteland,
it's a Wasteland,
and Underground, 2 double Underground Sea.
They all look a bit blue.
Well, I mean, they're blue cards, my friend.
Oh, yeah, I guess caps are blue. It's a colourless card.
They're the black ones. Okay, so the one that's got the glare on it is not actually a wall of glare. It is Spell Pierce, and that's probably the thing I'd be gunning for.
Yeah,
But
I think that
you can,
or Ponder.
Yeah, you can get Ponder just to stop him shaping his hand, because finding Brainstorm with Ponder would really, really make that hand a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Plus, you can play around Spell Pierce a bit. And if he goes Duress next turn and it gets pierced, then it's fine, right? Like, you're probably just going to take the pierce anyway, so...
I agree.
Oh, that's a really good top
Probe is
deck.
very nice. This is a good way to start, because now you know exactly where you want to place your Cabal Therapy. And here, I mean, if that double Duress was in hand, that would have been savage. But here, he's obviously going to... Yeah, Jay's obviously going to Cabal Therapy. Do you go for the mana denial and take out Dark Ritual, which is the strongest mana producing source in the deck, or do you go for Ponder because it's the single card that is unique in the hand that, you know, it does a role?
I personally would probably take Dark Ritual here.
Yep. I think that's perfectly fine.
There's an argument for both.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, I would probably take the Ponder because I can Spell Pierce Dark Ritual and force him to pay 2 mana. So you can play the Mana War, but you can't deny him cards. But if you hit the Ponder, you can deny him cards. That's my feeling.
No, that's fair enough. That's a good point. I had a chat with Sock about this list as well, and he was saying that he plays around Wasteland a lot more now, and he fetches up his basics.
Yeah, good.
And he'll even just hold up his Volcanic Island and his red for when he really, really wants to go off, and he won't crack his fetches unless he desperately has to.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think he's running a few more basics than the normal Storm list as well.
Yep.
So Duress here again. Obviously, Sock's hand is pretty light now, but I think it's fine to Duress. Some people, you gave me 2 options with that Duress before, but I'd say there's a third option, and that's to hold up your Duress until you want to go off and just go Duress, lead with Duress, make sure they don't have a force, and if they do, take it or Foster Storm, and then go off. But I think just getting your Duresses out is always going to slow them down. So
yep, I'd agree. I don't like playing the Lotus Petal out just because you don't need to play around Spell Pierce, and also you don't need to play around Daze because you could use the Island to pay for Daze if that was the case, the last card in hand. So just keeping the Lotus Petal for Storm count is pretty sweet.
Yeah, look, again, I mean, there's a lot of arguments, aren't there? But there is an argument.
Therapy,
there is an argument for Cabal Therapy, but I think keeping it in your hand for a Storm count is probably where I'd be.
Now, here's the Delver. If you knew the last card in hand was, say, Ad Nauseam, this is where you'd flash back your Cabal Therapy with the Delver and name Ad Nauseam or something just to get rid of that card, possibly after it's had 1 or 2 hits in. But, that's really good.
It's pretty much what you want to...
Amazing. That's really, really what you want to
get rid of that Wasteland and that Underground Sea and find something genuine.
Absolutely. I love it. That active fetch, it's beautiful. And this is where patience pays off, keeping that fetch there and keeping the other cards in hand, and it's good. Not that he had much of a choice because there wasn't a Wasteland target, but a lot of the time people are used to Modern fetching out those shock lands off those fetch lands. Use the fetch land early. But that fetch land's so important here. It's really going to really turn around Jay's hand.
Yeah, beauty, and Jay's definitely going to put that Wasteland away. Even if he finds a target for Wasteland next turn or the turn after, it doesn't really make too much difference. Sock's easy to win on a 3-land hand, so I'd say you probably put back Underground and Wasteland, and he's got a hand with Scalding Tarn and Force of Will now. And, fetching at the end of turn. This time it's good because
this time it's good. You get to shuffle away those bad cards.
So he's probably looking for Gurmag Angler here just to really put that clock on.
Yep.
A lot of people when they play against the Storm list, they sit there going, "I got to make sure I interact." But sometimes
you need a threat.
Putting down a big threat like a Gurmag or another Delver, that's taking turns away from your Storm player.
Take turns away from them. The Gurmag Angler, often you play it and you go, okay, you have 2 turns to win now, even if you didn't hold up spells to counter stuff. And often people like to think that they can get the Storm player, but sometimes the Storm player just goes, well, you've got a Gurmag Angler, you've got pressure on me, I have to go off. And it's the last thing you wanted to happen. You just went, my hand was soft, and you actually force them into doing something they wouldn't otherwise. So I
find that in Vintage Storm, actually. I get pressured to go off, and you just get there. But Vintage Storm has a lot more outs, obviously. And look, Sock not doing much here, but I think
he's patiently buying his time, isn't he?
Jay's not to know, right? Jay's not to know what kind of great cards he's accumulating. If he gets another Ritual and Past in Flames, then he can be exposed to a lot of mana. So
I'm not a fan of this end of Sock's turn Brainstorm, because you've already got 3 lands out. If Jay goes to his turn, draws an additional card, then Brainstorms on his turn, he'll see a whole larger percentage of cards before having to shuffle away the worst cards. So a lot of the time, being efficient isn't the important goal.
exactly
it's,
right.
Card quality,
especially when we're talking about ripping cards like Gurmag, which is only going to take 1 black. When you've got spells like Spell Pierce and Daze, you don't need to save that blue mana there.
Yeah, and in this instance, he didn't shuffle end of turn, which meant that his hand was really good. And if your hands are really good, or became really good off Brainstorm and you didn't need to shuffle, you probably didn't need to Brainstorm.
Is Shaman where he wants to be? I think Shaman's got a lot going for it. He can start eating Dark Rituals and slow down that Past in Flames turn.
Also slow down Threshold.
That's exactly right. But Sock
here's
with the Brainstorm
Socrates
himself. So
there's definitely of the decks that do end of turn Brainstorm, it would be Storm. That's as a normal situation. I don't frown on Storm doing an end of turn Brainstorm as much as I do for every other fair deck. Because
Sock might be inclined to go off here because he's got another turn, so he gets hit for 3 and drained to 2. So he's got a 2-turn clock, but if he tries going off here, he keeps his graveyard alive, because obviously if he passes his turn, his graveyard gets opened up, most likely being that Duck Ritual, and even a scary double bolt.
Yeah.
So he might actually want to go off here.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Also, he doesn't have Ad Nauseam in the main deck, so we don't need to talk about that. But he does need 3 life for Grim Tutor. So that's something to keep in mind, because if he does wait for 1 turn and get bashed for 5, then Grim Tutor would be lethal if his opponent bolts him.
That's exactly right.
So this might...
And how many bolts does he run for? 4? It's a 4.
Yeah, there's always a lot of bolts in
enough to be
Grixis
worried about.
But having 4 is good. I can't remember whether he's on 4 or 3, but 4 is the standard number. I'll just find out for you. He's on 4 lightning bolts.
Well, the fact that Sock's fetching there is a good sign for Sock. It means he's probably going to do something.
Yep, he's going to go for it now. And he has Threshold if he needs to do Cabal Therapy, a Cabal Ritual. And he has access to 5 mana here, and with pairing it up with whatever he's got in his hand.
Yeah, I know Jay's got a Force of Will. Has he got 2 cards in hand? You'd assume because he did that other Brainstorm, he's got
3. I think
he's got another blue card for sure. So there's something there. This is one of those opportunities, as I was saying, where maybe holding that second duress. I said I personally don't like it, but I respect it for sure. And for this reason, to be able to go duress, make sure. And there you go, Sock's done it anyway. So.
I think this is basically if Storm has the ability, if Sock has the ability to storm off this turn, this duress will win him the game.
Yeah,
because without the duress, you have to play around Spell Pierce, you have to play around Daze, and you have to play around Force of Will, which you can't the latter. So
I don't mind Spell Pierce here. I don't mind it. It's the mana's very relevant. And
yep. I think that's totally correct, and hiding the information is necessary. One of the issues is the fact that the hope here is that it stops Sock from going off. It says, hey, don't go off because I definitely have a Force of Will in hand, so don't do it. But if Sock is priced into going off this turn, he's just going to have to go off this turn, unfortunately. So the bluff is good, but it might not get there.
Sock's got that little poster at the top, and I think that's for the mana.
So Storm in the middle?
Storm can in the middle on the mana. Around the sides, and don't forget your opponent's spells will trigger your storm count. So that's why 3. Storm counts 3.
Nice. So here comes 3 cards off Brainstorm, and it doesn't really matter whether or not he's extracting maximum value out of the Brainstorm because it's not a fair deck. He just wants to sculpt the best hand for this turn only and go off.
Oh, he's forgotten to put back. Is that right?
Oh no, I think I saw him put his hand over his deck, so I'm pretty sure he dropped 2 cards onto it. Look at that hand. So a Force with blue card and a Daze. Yeah. This is going to be really hard.
It's a good probe, actually.
Yeah. Knowing this really, really helps a lot. He's drawn back one of the cards that he put back with Brainstorm, so he's going to have to work with what he has because he's already used a fetch. But he can use, say, an Infernal Tutor or something to shuffle his deck if he needs to do a ponder afterwards.
But you can imagine a Grim Tutor is going to be really tasty.
Oh yeah,
for Jay. So I think he actually just
he just
wants another duress, really.
Yeah, his hand is 4 cards. Is that right? 1, 2, 3. I think it's 4 cards, but we'll find out. Lotus Petal, so Storm Count goes up to 5, and he will have access to a large amount of mana.
But is it enough when you're running Grim? Oh, he needs LED really, because LED is sort of the real punching point for Storm. That's what gets you that when you're pondering and probing and preordaining and you're trying to find and you think I've got to go off. LED is that's a huge amount. I mean, it's Black Lotus in these decks a lot of the time, so that's where it generates the unfair amount of mana. So I think Sock really wants to have an LED in hand or be able to find LED with a cantrip coming soon. So
yeah. So Jay just testing the waters there to see whether or not that Lotus Petal was a bait spell or not. So he dazes towards a Lotus Petal, and it nets 0 mana when Sock pays for the Lotus Petal.
Yeah, I guess that's an interesting one because Sock would always pay the 1. So maybe it's not the most ideal spell to try to daze because regardless of Sock's position, he's always going to pay the 1 because he gets 1 mana out of Lotus Petal anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe even dazing the duress and then spell piecing it after. But
well, here one thing is when Socrates duressed and looked at the hand and knew that there were 2 counter spells to play around, it's possible that you just and paid 2 for duress. I think it's possible.
No, he didn't pay 2 for duress. He was able to probe later. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's possible that you just pass the turn. So, if I was in his situation, I probably would have passed the turn earlier just because you go, well, I know you don't have Lightning Bolt, so it means I get an additional turn. And it means you're going to get 1 mana back because you wouldn't have duressed on the subsequent turn. That always runs the risk of your opponent drawing Brainstorm.
Yeah, well, another option is, even doing that earlier and paying 2 mana on the duress.
Yeah.
And then you get to see
see the hand, realise you can't go off.
Steal something as well for the next turn, which makes your next turn better.
Yeah. Take the Force of Will, realise you can't go off, go to the next turn, and then have enough mana to go crazy.
Yes. So Jay hoping to hit what exactly? Maybe even a bolt.
Brainstorm.
A bolt?
Bolt is...
it doesn't go lethal, but it stops
Sock
fetching and
it stops
probing.
Gitaxian Probe, it stops Grim Tutor. So Bolt would be nice, but that Probe is the blue card to pitch to Force, so it's very risky to use it. But if you drew a blue card, then that's good. So...
Okay, so he had the Tutor but no LED, and he's got Cabal.
Oh, he's got heaps of mana next turn.
But but he doesn't have the Storm, so he really wants... Because
he doesn't have Adnors in the main either, right?
Well, no, and he's only got 1 Dark Writ in the bin. So going past In Flames here doesn't net a huge amount of mana. Oh no, what's he taken?
Probably Dark Ritual.
Oh,
I would take Dark
so.
Ritual, but let's see. Because it's the bottleneck. I think that was a Gitaxian Probe.
Oh, yeah, I think it was just the top one on his...
But it's flashing back, yeah.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I would definitely be taking Dark Ritual there because Sock's real only out is to go past In Flames.
Yep.
And the only way past In Flames works is if he's got mana. Rituals in the bin. So I think he'll be okay. I don't think Sock can do much, but again, maybe Sock should have kept those petals in hand and kept up that Storm count.
Yeah, I think that the previous line that we were looking at would involve him having 1 additional card, which is Lotus Petal.
Well, it also would have had him having Gitaxian Probe.
And Gitaxian Probe, yeah, so that's very true. So here's a Ponder, so he's really looking for natural Past in Flames will do it. Past in Flames this turn, it gets countered, past the turn, and then he flashes it back the next turn with the other Lotus Petal.
Yeah, he does, and I think our line where we go duress, pay 2 for spell pierce.
I think that's where
probably
hindsight 2020 bias, but I think that's where we want to be, and it's a learning lesson for all of us to, play these out in the imaginary sub games. You play a Shahrazad sub game here on whether or not I did this.
And for Jay, I think even caballing Delver might have been better because it doesn't change the clock. Delver hits for 3, and
it does change the clock by 1 turn. But
does it?
Yeah, because the Death Right drains for 2, and let's see, the Delver would have attacked for. Am I missing something here?
I think you might be missing something.
The attack.
I don't think
he was
changes
on 7.
the clock.
He was on 7 and then got hit for 3.
So he still gets hit for 3 and then cabaled.
Yeah, you're right.
And that way,
you're right. Sacrifice Delver.
You can Shaman at the end of turn first of all, which is better, and you can also Shaman again. For the lethal.
So he's going for it now because he pondered and found something. Now he's going to get 5 black mana in his mana pool, and Storm Count will be 2. Now, if this card that he got off Ponder is a relevant card,
Grim Tutor.
Yeah, but then it gets forced, and that's the end of his game. But if this is Past in Flames, Past in Flames specifically, then he lets it get Force of Willed, and then the next turn he casts Past in Flames and goes for gold. No, he'd be 1 mana short off the Past in Flames. So tutor here for Past in Flames, but it has to get forced here because. Oh, actually, you can force the flashback part. You can force the other Past in Flames the following turn.
Well, you could force the Infernal Tutor, right?
Yeah, you can.
Wouldn't you just
there's mana floating. Yeah, you force the Infernal Tutor this turn. So what this says is he doesn't have a blue card in hand.
That keeps Past in Flames out of the bin.
Yeah, he doesn't have a blue card in hand is what it's saying, because otherwise you counter that. So Past in Flames.
I think Jay shouldn't have probed if he didn't have another blue spell. Just that sort of being efficient with your cards and you think, well, I have to be efficient. I've got to use probe. I'll probably find a blue card, and it's just better, especially against a deck like Storm, to just have a bit of an insurance policy and ride the Delver. That's what your deck's about: riding the Delver and riding your cheap threats. So I think he might still have force and just think, oh, I'll force the big threat.
But you really don't want to force Past in Flames.
You don't, unless this is like. No, it can't surely be like it.
Ad Nors isn't in his main deck, but it wouldn't be good anyway. Yeah, there is Past in Flames. Yeah, off the Ponder. So that's
that was off the tutor, right?
The tutor. Sorry. This is exactly the line. I must have been going to sleep there. Of course, the Infernal Tutor being the best target for Force of Will,
and that's why you wanted to hit Dark Writ with
So he doesn't have a blue card for
Shaman.
Force of Will then, and that's GG's. So we go up to Storm Count is 4, black mana is 3, and then he flashes back Cabal Ritual. So he goes Storm Count is 5, and black mana is 6. Sorry, is that right? 6, because Cabal adds 3, and all he needs is Storm Count 7, right? So he goes to 6. Storm Count is 5. He goes to 6 mana. You use Infernal Tutor to find tendrils, and he tendrils for lethal. Oh, no, sorry, you don't, because there's always the chance that your opponent is having a sneaky blue card in hand and will counter the 1 tendrils copy.
That seems strictly incorrect. I guess is there mana enough for a Duress? Yes, there is. And a Duress can't hurt, right? If you've got the mana for it.
Yeah, Duress, go to 6 Storm. Always Lightning Bolt.
There is Lightning.
Yeah, so the Grim Tutor would have been lethal if he lethaled himself.
And a good Duress, because now you know not to get greedy and play Gitaxian Probe.
I do like keeping that Gurmag Angler in hand, because it bluffed the Force of Will blue card for a long time. A lot of times you play out Gurmag because you're like, I've got 2 threats and I got lethal on the board, but you have lethal in hand. You got Bolt and then.
But you know what's better than bluffing blue card? Keeping a blue card.
Keep a natural blue. Oh, 100%. I keep. If you look at the best world scenario, you Gitaxian Probe into another blue card that's worse than Gitaxian Probe to pitch to force. How many cards are worse than Gitaxian Probe that are blue in the Delver deck?
About 0.
Actual another Delver. That's about it.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, and it's only small stuff we were.
Oh, these
we
are
were looking at
tiny,
there.
tiny little infinitesimally
But you can see
small
how it makes a difference sometimes.
differences.
so.
Yeah. So it was really interesting to see the back and forth, and obviously these little comments that we make are really us hashing out a perfect world scenario that, when two players are playing one person's deck, the two of us are using our brains trust to play one Storm deck, and the two of us are playing a Grixis Delver deck against each other as well.
It is easier. It is easier from our spot.
And with hindsight.
But this is part of it. That's part of learning.
It's learning.
And you get to at least a better instinct if you watch games like this and commentate on games like this, like we're doing. And obviously, if you play more games like this, my instinct would always be to hit that dark rit. So
I definitely feel for watching matches like this and seeing both sides and seeing both hands. I get a lot better feel for what's in people's hands in real Magic when I'm actually playing.
That's a really good point as well.
What are they holding? How often do they have a blue card?
Why would
what
they
are
be
they bluffing?
doing this?
Why are they doing that? Yeah, and you go, I see. Yeah, that is a line that my opponent could have, and so it's a learning experience for me too. Listening, watching, and hashing out verbally some of my thought processes, whether or not they're correct. Oftentimes, I think I'm not making the right decision, especially since I've played only a little bit of Storm.
Well, you played a lot of Grixis Delver though. Speaking of which, the Sideboard, what's Jay citing in here, Saf?
Well, like I was saying before, Grixis Delvers can be all over the place with sideboards because there's such a wide variety of good spells in those colours.
I don't mind Colligan's Command.
So, I mean...
It's a bit slow, but you can hit a pedal or an LED or
hitting LED when they...
something.
Because sometimes it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario where your Storm opponent goes, I don't want to get Cabal Therapied, I'll play out my 2 Lion's Eye Diamonds, and then you go to your turn and you Ancient Grudge them because you've got no better sideboard cards to bring in. You've got bad cards to take out, and you just Ancient Grudge their 2 LEDs. It's hilarious. But in terms of this actual sideboard, Surgical Extraction, slam dunk in. Pyroblast, also slam dunk in. Flusterstorm, amazingly good card. And the rest is pretty, neither here nor there. Collective Brutality.
Yeah, maybe Grafdigger's Cage seems decent. And I guess there's stuff to take out, like a few of the Forked Bolt, etc. And
so
you could even take out Wastelands, right? If you're
100%.
I think more interestingly is Sock's sideboard. Let's take a look at that. And is Sock transforming here? I don't know when he does and doesn't, if he just transforms every time to get your opponent, or...
I think if Socrates is playing this unique transformative sideboard, he's always bringing it in. That's my feeling. Unless there's some kind of strange deck that is obviously naturally good, like... I guess in this instance, Deathrite Shaman is kind of a problem.
But you can assume that people are going to put in Graveyard Hate against Storm all the time.
Definitely. You can assume that one Grafdigger's Cage is coming in pretty much all the time. So it might incidentally get hated. It's not like, say, a Storm deck that brings in 4 Gurmag Angler, for example. I'm not saying that's correct, but as an example of some other transformation, here's something that you can't interact with. Actually, speaking of this, I wonder how I want to build this.
What you want is Grave Titan, mate.
Grave Titan, there you go. Yeah,
10 damage on board like that. Dark Rit.
I really kind of like that. It doesn't get spell pierced. You do a couple of Dark Rituals. They keep a Flusterstorm in hand. They keep a Stifle in hand for your Storm trigger, and you're like, and you put cast Grave Titan.
10 damage on board. Swing 10. Make another, 2.
Do another 10 the next turn. Lethal.
It's pretty good.
I'm liking this deck. Let's build just 2 Grave Titans in the sideboard. Done. All those, and then laugh at all those Flusterstorms and Spell Pierces. And they go, "Oh, do I Spell Pierce this Dark Ritual? Oh, I'm not sure. No, okay, I'll let it resolve so that I can Spell Pierce your Infernal Tutor. Oh, I don't know. Then I can Flusterstorm it. I can Daze this and Flusterstorm that." Grave Titan.
Days in the big old Grave Titan.
7 mana. Grave Titan. Oh, I got 1 to pay for days.
Anyway.
Back into the real world.
Back into the real world.
Back into the magical land of make-believe.
The problem with Sock's Storm list is, not Sock's personally, but Storm in general is, though, that you're running a very tight ship. So taking things out for this combo and anything else that you particularly want. I don't think you want Ad Nauseam against Tempo because it easily gets pierced, dazed, and even just
Life
bolted.
Total. Life Total is bad.
Delver Swing and Bolt is quite good against it. So if you assume he's pulling in the new transformative sideboard, I don't think he's putting anything else in.
Well, this is under the assumption that Ad Nauseam is in your sideboard. For me, Ad Nauseam's always in my main deck because I love it. It's so good. I wouldn't take it out.
He's got that Grim Tutor, so that's fair. But as far as taking things out, I guess he's only got a couple spells that he actually needs in there. I don't know, Reign of Filth?
Yeah, well, these it's really hard to take out rituals against Storm. Against not Storm. When you are Storm and you are against anyone else, taking out rituals is risky, but you have to sometimes shave. And there's a very fine balance between how many rituals you can take out, still have critical mass in your deck, and how much slower you become. Against control decks, it's nice to be able to just go, I'll trim a few rituals and I'll just play land go and just keep land going for as long as possible because they just don't kill you quick.
Yeah, it's a good point. Maybe even a Grim Tutor could come out.
Yeah,
keeping one in the deck and taking one out because when you play with Ad Nauseam, you only run one Ad Nauseam, right? So
and you only run one Past in Flames, except Sock's running two.
Well, I'll probably shave a Past in Flames. I'll probably shave a Past in Flames.
But then the question is, why? If it's in there in the main, then why do you want to shave it?
And then there's another question, which is, why is he running in the first place?
Because we're in the land of make-believe.
Who knows what
of Grave Titans and two Past in Flames.
And Socrates.
Socrates has always got awesome little, strategies that we're like, well, that seems bad.
Well,
and then suddenly we're like, oh, wait, why are you searching for the second Past in Flames? There's no second... Oh, there's a second Past in Flames.
I was playing against Sock. We were testing and he was playing Storm and everything was fine. And then he comes to the tournament and he's got this Graveyard Grizzlebrand. And he didn't tell me about that. He kept it under wraps. He wanted it to be sneaky.
It's good. Super secret
tech. He loves it.
Here's the hand. So, Brainstorm, Lotus Petal, Gitaxian Probe, Infernal Tutor, Ponder, Cabal Therapy, sorry. And this is...
That's just it.
that's what I saw.
But
I saw Young Pyro.
He's making it hard for us, Jay. He's putting the pressure on. I think he's got a Pyro, and
momentarily went to 2 Infect then. So here's the the volcanic island off the polluted delta, and his hand had a Young Pyro in it and a blue card. That's what I remember.
Yeah, look, it's got spells and land and at least one land.
That's where you want to be. So what is this? Is this a turn 1 Delver? If it is, I'm definitely on Jay's side because that's where you want to be in this. But if it's a Ponder, it's a bit So it's a Ponder. It's Ponders are fine. You just have to use your turn 1. But the issue with sculpting your hand, and this is not out of choice because he doesn't have a Delver. If he had a Delver, he'd deploy it. But when you don't have a choice and casting a Ponder turn 1, the issue is, do I Ponder to find a threat because I need a threat to actually win this game? Or do I find disruption for you? And if you're finding disruption, eventually the Storm deck just gets you. You still need you still need pressure. You still need something to be attacking.
Even if it's just a Shaman.
Yeah.
Because at least a Shaman will eat some of those graveyard spells and curb the Past in Flames, and it still does 2 a turn. So
well, that's my ideal. I mean, open on Underground Sea Deathrat Shaman, that's gold.
So anyway, I think Jay's surely going to deploy the Pyro next turn, but the Pyro is quite good because it makes chump blockers as well. So this is going to be a completely offensive Pyro, and I think Pyro is just a tiny bit slower than Delver in that sense, unless you can string a lot of Gitaxian Probes. So hopefully Jay's got a lot of Gitaxian Probes for that Pyro.
Yeah.
And then a lot of Cabal Therapies.
Well, here's a Gitaxian Probe. Let's have a look. Now we can see the hand. Oh, Surgical Extraction, delicious. Spell Pierce and Young Pyro and Ancient Grudge and Brainstorm. This is a nice hand.
Yeah, he's probably going to have to Brainstorm next turn to find that land though, unfortunately. Yeah. And then he might risk locking himself.
Well, he did the right
Hopefully-
thing playing the ponder first, shuffling the deck, trying to find land, basically. So, he did what he needed to do.
That's right. Does Sock have Cabal himself here? And if he does he
Name young pyromancer.
or even
Just so there's no threat.
or Brainstorm?
Yeah, Brainstorm is definitely what I naturally would take in this kind of a matchup. I rephrase this kind. When I'm playing Grixis Delver, I would definitely Cabal Therapy away their Brainstorm when they're on one land and have Shuffled after Ponder. Oh, there it is. The question was, as a Storm deck, do you play that? Do you do that? Do you do that as a Storm deck?
I think
or do
it's
you
fine.
take Surgical Extraction? Or do you take...
But it's the same idea. Like, I think there's an
Spell
argument.
Pierce,
There's an
you know,
argument
it's-
for Surgical, but I think that
Spell Pierce is one piece of interaction. Do you take
ruining
Spell
James,
Pierce?
even if you're playing the Proactive Storm list, ruining Jace.
Oh, that's good. Well, he did the right thing. He shuffled off Ponder because he wasn't going to get a land, and he shuffles and draws land. This is absolutely ideal. And now, because Socrates took his Brainstorm, the sign is Socrates doesn't want him to play many. Needs more turns to build something. Otherwise, he would say take the Spell Pierce because he
That's
wants to
right.
go off the following turn.
Yeah.
So you
I'll
deploy
agree
Young
with that.
Pyromancer here.
I think there's not much point taking. I guess the Cabal hits both Pyros, so yeah, I agree. If you
Yeah.
take the Spell Pierce, it's bad for Jay.
Yeah, it means I take Spell Pierce. It means next turn I'm going to go off, mate. I don't
But
care.
why
about your
does
hand.
Sock play Lotus Petal when he sees a hand with Ancient Grudge?
I think he's afraid of Days. But did he play the Lotus Petal before the thing?
He played it afterwards.
Oh, okay, then that's weird. But yeah, you play it before to play around Days.
Oh, maybe he did. He definitely played it after Probe, but I'm not sure. But if he did it after Probe, then he would have seen that there's no days anyway. So
Yeah. So here you deploy Young Pyromancer, pass the turn, safely going, well, you didn't take my Spell Pierce, which meant that you were not going to go off for the following turn. So I get to have a threat.
if I'm Jay as well, I wouldn't mind another land off the top and go second Pyro.
Oh,
Keep
yeah.
up Spell Pierce.
That'd be absolutely delicious. I want to off the top Gataxian Probe into land. That would be nice, but we can't live in Magical Christmas Land every day, but definitely something I'd like to do. So probably fetching Basic Island here. Yep, there it is. Even though you know that your opponent probably has taken out some number of wastelands, and often you shave one or two. You're not going to take all of them out because sometimes Storm fizzles and you just need to deny them land.
Yeah, or you just need the mana for your own as a colourless mana to tap for yourself. But yeah, I usually shave a couple of wastelands against combo decks.
So now do you feel like, because Socrates knows he's drawn a land and he knows that you've got another Young Pyromancer and you're going to untap and have a Spell Pierce, that he has to go off here or not?
He might not be able to anyway.
It's based on the ponder, isn't it? Once he sees a ponder, he'll know whether he can.
So it looks like a land,
not to
another
go.
ponder, and something else.
Yeah, probably it's a shuff, right?
I mean, it could be a shove. Depends if you want to hit another land drop, because you could just go like,
Yeah, keep the land and keep the ponder, because you keep the land you play the land next turn, play the ponder again next turn with Spell Pierce, and you're not under a fast clock. Young Pyro is one of the slowest clocks in Delver, but it goes wide, which is really good to protect yourself against Diabolic Edict, and it's good to block things like opposing Gurmag Anglers and the very outdated Tarmogoyf. So here's a draw. If that was a land, yeah, that'd be nice. Basically, everything that he casts here is going to be generating value. So he's not going to be wanting for a threat. He's always going to have a threat. But
no, he doesn't need more threats. He just needs that one. The second Pyro, another one. If he gets land flooded, he can deploy it. But
yeah,
nothing wrong with keeping up Spell Pierce.
absolutely. And here's an argument to Ancient Grudging the Lotus Petal.
Yeah.
But Jay here is going
I think
all
that's
in.
fine.
Yeah, he's going all in and
It's
saying,
like we said before.
yeah, I don't think you can combo, so we're just going to go all in on these threats. Finish the game quicker.
Yeah, that's right. It definitely changes the clock up a lot. So doing it this early, I think, is very relevant. And Sock playing a petal again, so Storm count 1, but he hasn't ticked it up on his little marker. So I'm wondering if he's still just playing around.
Yeah, I think
Thoughtseize.
He's worried about Cabal Therapies because Cabal Therapy plus Young Pyros is just disgusting. But the other issue is that he knows that Jay has Ancient Grudge in hand, and he doesn't have a source of green, but he's also banking on the fact that Jay doesn't want to take a whole turn off to deploy one Ancient Grudge to kill one Lotus Petal, because that's essentially the same thing as Days cast for mana. I don't want a Days cast for mana.
No, I totally agree. You probably want to keep up your lands and keep up Spell Pierce, and then if there's nothing to Spell Pierce, then you just
end of turn, then you grudge it.
It's fine.
Yeah, fine. Generates tokens, which is nice. So here's Brainstorm. So this is a Brainstorm with an active fetch, which is going to allow Socrates to shape a really nice hand, and he will obviously try and prioritize non-ritual spells from here, because he has mana and his opponent is tapped off of Spell Pierce. So if he wants to go off now, he's getting stuff that's not mana. If he wants to go off later, he will be getting a mixture of mana and spells. And
I think Sock probably wouldn't mind one LED in hand. And obviously, I mean, that's the combo, right? One LED and one tutor. But I will say maybe one other Dark Writ. You say he doesn't want mana, but if he's not going off this turn, certainly he wants a Dark Writ. And just having a Dark Writ in your bin for when you do Past in Flames, I think is important. So
yeah, I agree. Good point.
Maybe at least having one Dark Writ in hand.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's the way to go. So it all depends on how well his 3 cards off Brainstorm actually hit relevant cards. And as you can see, he's deciding on which cards to put back, which means, in my opinion, it means that his hand's good. If he wasn't tanking this much, it means that his hand was bad. Easy decision, chuck away 2 cards he doesn't want, like lands. But I feel like this means his hand is good.
Is it good enough that he goes off this turn is the question, though.
Yeah, that's the question.
Maybe that's what he's questioning, is does he risk and go off this turn, or does he allow for the fact that... Because if he... Essentially, if he passes turn, he gets to untap the island, maybe play another land drop, draw another card.
And that plays around Spell Pierce.
But he's got to tap 2 to Spell Pierce, because he assumes he gets Spell Pierce next turn.
So it equalises, but he gets a card and Jay gets a card, and Jay's card might be Days. It can't be Force of Will, because it's not... There's not a second blue card next to the Spell Pierce to pitch to Force. So I think that's perfectly okay to pass the turn and try and play around Spell Pierce by just playing land drops.
And if he likes those 2 cards that he's not sure about so much, then maybe it is correct to just pass turn, untap.
One of them is a Lotus Petal, I can see now. So we'll
maybe he's deciding what to hide to a potential Cabal Therapy next turn as well.
I think that's also a good choice too. Keep in mind that he might also having to math around ensuring that he has exactly 7 cards in the graveyard for Threshold, but that Surgical Extraction will turn off the threshold for if he drops down to 6 cards. Yeah, so that's also something possible.
So Jay probably hoping for, I'd say, another Spell Pierce, really.
Spell Pierce would be sweet. So Socrates is down at 11. He's on a virtual 7 for the next turn. But if 4 spells could be cast, it would actually mean that he'd have enough tokens for lethal. But that's not really possible unless the other card in hand is a Force of Will and 2 Dazes. 2 Dazes, 4 spells, you've got lethal, right? But it's not a Magical Christmas Land.
No, it's not Magical Christmas Land. Sock didn't fetch either, so we were right that he wanted those cards.
Yeah, it's a good hand.
Before shuffling as well, so
the hand is good then. There was definitely a Lotus Petal in there amidst them. But he can know that Jay is not going to kill him the following turn because he needs to generate 4 tokens. He needs to cast 4 spells, i.e. generate
unless he goes Pierce and Bolt here and then untaps and bolts again. But here we go. That's surely going to warrant a Pierce.
I think this is a really good point to Pierce.
Yeah.
Because it's going to force Socrates to use both Lotus Petals or his shuffle effect, and Socrates has shown a reticence to want to shuffle his library.
Yeah, it's totally right. Triggering, so Jay can't be happy to pierce that. And I think, maybe Sock's just worried about this ritual resolving and then getting surgicaled.
Yeah, yep. Dark Ritual is the juiciest target if ever there was one for surgical extraction. And we're going to see whether or not Socrates pays for this. If he doesn't pay, it's going to be a bad time because when he next has priority, Jay will surgical that Dark Ritual, forcing Socrates to shuffle his deck.
Okay, so we're at Storm Count 3 here? 4.
Yeah.
Ponder.
It's just off screen, isn't it? So it was
I think it's Storm Count
Brainstorm?
4. Ponder.
No, Brainstorm was last turn.
Yeah,
So
Ponder, Ritual, Spell Pierce, Petal.
All right, so he's shuffling his deck, so he didn't need that final card on the top of his deck. And so Storm Count, did you say was 4? And Spell Pierce, so Spell Pierce, Ponder, Dark Ritual, Lotus Petal.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
All right,
4.
Storm Count 4. And no mana floating, right?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll have to get next time Socrates to move his Storm counter. It's a really nice Storm counter. Do you see it?
No, I like it.
Picture of Jace with the Storm, and then he's got 5 mana symbols.
Not that you'd ever run really get some green mana, would you? But
what about those Manamorphos Storm decks in round 1? That's possible. He could loan it to Simon or Lachlan, and they could they could use Manamorphos to generate green. Or Tinderwall. So here's Reign of Filth. So this is basic. Reign of Filth is essentially right now a Dark Ritual. Because it's going to generate
So Reign of Filth, for those who don't know, it's a bit of a unique card. Probably really only played in this deck. Sacrifice a land to add a black to your mana pool. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's all right. So he's basically got a Dark Ritual here. Because he's going to sacrifice all 3 of his lands because that's what Storm does right now.
Yeah, it's going to definitely try to go off this turn. So
So he's got a single card in hand. So obviously that is Infernal Tutor or Grim Tutor. Is that the feeling that you're getting?
Could even be Past in Flames. But if he goes to Past in Flames, then he's going to have to dig with Ponders and Brainstorms and Probes to find it. So I think it'd be pretty shaky if he didn't have a hard tutor.
So why doesn't he just sacrifice the other land for... Yeah. So he sacrificed Lotus Petal to do the second one here. Oh, Brainstorm. Okay. This was scary when you see Brainstorm... When you see 1 mana get tapped and you think it's a Spell Pierce. So, here's a Brainstorm. If he finds a... surely Socrates can't win from here. What's that going to find? Because he's only going to have 2 mana available, right? Because he's got no mana floating.
So why didn't he sack more to Reign of Filth?
Well, he can do it for the rest of his turn.
Oh, okay. So no, he might be okay then. His Storm Count 7.
Yep.
And he can sack. He can generate 4 more mana.
4, so he can't. Oh, he's 1 off actually casting Tendrils for lethal, right? Because Tendrils would be Storm Count 8. That'll be 16 life. But that'll be everything. His entire board will be empty.
So Jay brainstorming there was actually pretty risky, to be honest with you. Because unless he was really calculating that Storm Count, definitely very risky to go for. I mean, maybe just I don't know, Sock just Gitaxian Probe, hope to hit Tendrils off the top.
So it's exactly 4 mana. This is.
Or does he? Or does he just?
I can't even add nauseam.
Does he just Tendrils and take Jay down to 2 and gain 16 life and say, please,
and then rebuild? But he has no land.
Please
no
God,
mana
I draw 2 lands exactly, and then no, he needs
you would draw 5 lands, and you got to cast
Past in Flames.
Past in Flames.
Or is it Empty the Warren Sarv?
Empty the Warrens. Oh, if he's brought in Empty the Warrens, no, he's got Empty the Warrens in the main. This is done. This is done.
Sideboard.
Schnitzel is cooked. He's fried. Done Schnitzel. Here's your
Does
Empty
he
the
play
Warrens.
around days?
Doesn't matter. It only count on 1 Storm copy.
That's true.
So, yeah. So this is where
Storm Count is 8. Storm Count is 8.
Now he does not keep in mind that Jade does not have priority here to surgical anything. Is that right? So Socrates has not passed a turn. He's still got.
Well, I don't think Jade does want a surgical.
No, because it adds to Storm Count.
If he's surgicaled in response to Tutor, it's really bad because he loses 2 life and he triggers Storm up to 9. Up to 9 and loses. So
yeah, so surgical would be not right here. And if it's Empty the Warrens, there's the Warrens. Yeah, Warren has come to town. Empty him out all over the battlefield.
16 little cheeky boys.
16 nasty pasties, as Socrates would say.
Nastiest pasties you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Does Jay have some way of playing a whole bunch of
Like
ponders,
marsh casualties?
a whole bunch of ponders and triggering 2 pyros and chumping?
Like, the game is on. Like, the game is definitely on right now.
So he's got 16 1/1s.
Oh, I don't know about surgical
why
here.
are you surgicling?
Well, he makes 2 tokens.
I guess.
But I think you'd rather just go to your turn and play it for 1 black.
Yeah, because you're always
Then
going
you
to
don't
be
lose 2.
blocking with him as well.
Yeah.
And life's really relevant when he's got exactly 16 blokes.
Yeah. So there's exactly 16 bad boys, 16 nasty pasties, 16, as Socrates would say,
Fiery gobbos.
naughty boys. They're naughty boys. There's 16.
Have you got 16 of these things,
I don't know if you usually plan to be that high with the empty the Warrens. 10 drills usually gets you there, but 16. Here we go. Oh, I love it. Each one is an art. Is one of the little gobbos on the art of empty the Warrens.
Oh, that's cool.
That's
nice.
Oh, yeah.
But what happens when you've got
And they're
16
foiled too.
of them?
Yeah, I think you play them as one big block rather than one big block, and turn the entirety of your playmat sideways when they attack.
But it's still only 12, right? He's gonna
12.
He's gonna have 4 little lonely gobbos.
Okay.
What happens when they swing? Is
There we go. There's 16, right? 4. No, that's 12.
It's 4 by 3.
Like, do you want these elementals? No, I don't want your elementals. I want foil goblins. These goblins are really cool.
Yeah, Sock. Obviously, gonna just pause the game here so we can track down some foil goblin tokens.
Oh, look at
2 more.
Oh
No, save your life. Because
you're just going to be trading
gain
with
2 life,
dudes anyway, right?
Yeah.
So 2
Or even
life
just-
pays for 2 dudes.
Or even just what if you like untap, draw pyro, and then play pyro, and then you get 3 dudes per blue.
True. I would just play it for 1 black, but that's where I'd be.
It's not
Go
like
to
Sock's
Moxon
gonna
and play
pierce
it
it or
for 1
anything.
black. Yeah.
16 of the angry. I reckon Jay might be able to block his way through this.
And then
Unfortunately, he can't block with the pyro, because if he's forced into blocking with the pyro, then he's not going to be able to generate more dudes.
You're correct. So Jay is taking out all 4 Infernal Tutors and all 4 Dark Rituals.
I've got a smelly feeling that Jay's going to get there, but I think he needs to. I don't know what else he's going to handle. I think he needs to hit like a Preordain or something, some kind of cantrip off.
There's heaps of outs.
That's another reason maybe you keep the extractions in hand, is because what if you draw Spell Pierce or Daze?
Yeah.
And then you want to daze your own surgical.
Yep. I can see that. I can see
Like
that happen.
0 mana, like daze.
There's a non-zero chance of
0
doing
mana.
that.
What was that silly dragon fodder? 0 mana dragon fodder. Like, seems good, right?
Costs you 2 cards though. But anyway, so
No, it costs you 1 because you still generate.
oh, sorry, I was thinking about spell piercing your own surgical extraction there.
Yeah, that still generate
2 mana, 2 cards generates
4
goblins.
That's double dragon.
Wow,
fodder.
double dragon fodder. Who would have thought?
Why
Double dragon
reverberate
fodder.
your dragon fodder
when you can,
when you daze your own surgical?
this contraption could work. So it's 8 1/1s staring down 16 1/1s, and Jay has gone down to 12 life. Not ideal.
And he's hit a land, unfortunately.
Because the issue is when you surgical, you lose 2 life, but also you're going to be taking some damage off the gobbos.
Yeah. Well, he could have saved 3 life by fetching and surgicling, as we've already said. And I wonder what that last card is. It's going to be super relevant. If it's a bolt,
If it's a bolt,
can
it's pretty significant.
bolt a little cheeky boy, make 2 more 1/1s. It's like...
So now you're in Socrates' position. You got 16 goblins. Your opponent has a whole bunch of goblins, 8 goblins and 2 guys. So you swing sideways as 16, right? Your opponent goes down. Your opponent can go down to 1 and block. How many? So your opponent can go down to 1 if they're on 12 and block 11 of your tokens. 11 of you guys die. You've still got 5 left.
I think you want to keep the pyros up if you can. Right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So the math
So you block
basically is
8,
that you attack with
take
everything,
8.
right?
Yeah, you attack with everything. So you swing 8. Or did he not?
He didn't swing at all.
Oh, you have to though.
Because this
Jay
is just
will
going
get
to
out
keep
of it
generating
eventually,
more. Yeah.
So
He's
you swing 16, block
It's
8,
another
take
pyro.
8.
It's another pyro.
Oh, Goblin Rough Riders. That is rough.
Imagine if you had surgical. Good. Whoa! Oh, Cabal Therapy. Oh, man. This is a Cabal Therapy.
Yeah,
generating 3
swing.
tokens and then flashing back to generate another 2 tokens, netting 2 tokens. Sack 1, generate 3 more tokens, so it's basically netting 5 tokens. So let's say Socrates attacked with all of his dudes. So Jay blocked with 8 dudes, kept his 2 pyros, takes 8 damage. You get to untap, and you still have more tokens than he has tokens, and can swing again, kill all of his tokens, take Jay down to like 3-ish, something like that. And you lose all but like 2 or 3 of your tokens.
Well, you have to attack. You still got it. I mean, what is Sock hoping to draw?
It doesn't get better.
There's nothing he can draw
It only gets worse.
Yeah, so he has to swing.
Yeah, attack with everything. I
think he might have been calculating that if he gets swung back for 10, but Jay's forced to block to survive himself.
He has to block because he went to 12. But if Jay stayed on 16, it wouldn't be an out for Sock. Sock wouldn't have actually been able to do enough in the number of attack steps. But because Jay shocked himself twice and went down to 12, it was definitely a line Sock could have taken to attack with everything.
Except Ponder's in hand. I think Ponder does it. That's it.
This is GG's because that's going to be enough tokens to equate the board, and he still has 3 pyros. That's exiled. Yep, just correcting the Cabal Therapy. And Jay is now has 0 pressure on him.
Well, I don't know why Jay's not pondering though, because he might as well. I mean, it's not like Sock's gonna. Yeah, it's Ponder. It's not like Sock's gonna Pyroclasm or anything.
No, maybe he has Force of Will in hand, and he's learnt the lesson of not pitching your blue card. But now he's probably drawn the second blue card, so he can. Maybe it was a Brainstorm, not Ponder. Not sure, but if it was Brainstorm, then yes, I wait. Because you want to wait on Brainstorm. Because the game's not going anywhere, you're just going to stall it out until you now have more advantage, and then you can just start attacking.
No, well, what's Sock's game plan? Draw 4 lands, Tendrils?
Yeah, seems bad. His Dark Rituals are gone, but he can draw 2, so he gets 2 lands, and then the Cabal Ritual, and then Duress, and then Tendrils. So that's a hand of 5 cards that could be built. It's not the exact 5 cards he'll have, but they're 5 cards that could be put together.
This looks like Jay's got Delver, which I guess is a clock.
Yeah, it flies over the top.
This was a really interesting game.
It's not the way we thought
it's now totally stalled out.
It's stalled, but it's so in favour of Jay, massively, right? The Storm is not really the kind of deck known for coming back from behind. No. Is that a turn counter? So Socrates is... Oh, no, this makes sense now. So Socrates was up a game, right?
This is only game 2, though,
This is game 2, but that's a turn counter.
They surely can't be going to turns in a Storm.
But if Socrates is up a game... then this makes total sense. Yeah, don't attack. Just wait.
So Jay needs to start swinging.
Yeah.
Because it's the exact same position. They're both on a minuscule amount of life.
Yeah,
Jay needs to swing.
This makes sense. That's the turn counter going up again.
Jay's got more than 16 critters, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's still got 3 pyros and the Delver. He's got more than 16 critters. He just needs to bash with everything.
If he's got more than 16, but he doesn't. I think he has just less.
But there's no scenario
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
where it's Sock, because Sock's on less life. So there's no scenario where Sock can block enough to stay alive and swing back for lethal. So Jay needs to just swing every turn with everything except pyros, and then swing everything with pyros on the last turn.
Agreed. Because he now has... I think I just did the count and it was 16.
At some point...
That's exactly the same number of gobos.
After each set of swings and blocks, there's less gobos to block.
Yeah, and then you get to smash
elementals,
back.
And you get to smash for more and get in for more. So...
Yeah. Well, this Delver does change a lot now. So, for those at home now, it all makes sense why Socrates didn't attack. For those who haven't played as much competitive Magic, the turn counter is relevant. It tells you that you have 5 turns left of the game, and that basically goes, I'm 0, and then Beckett's 1, then I'm 2, 3, 4, and then Beckett will have time number 5. And you need to complete the game within that time. Otherwise, that game that you're currently on is a draw. So whatever...
We're not seeing a game 3, basically.
So that means that if someone was already up a game, they win the match. And Jay's now attacking with everything, probably because it's, the last turn of the game or the second to last turn, and he just has to do something. But
yeah, I feel like Jay might have been holding out for bolts or holding out to get Delver in the air, but
just attacking with all your tokens is good.
Yeah, attacking with all the tokens every turn.
So here the tokens have all traded, I believe. All of Socrates' 16 tokens die, and then Jay still has 5 tokens. But
5's a lot.
But
just because
it's
a complicated board doesn't mean that you can't do the maths and work out. Well, hang on, 5 1/1s against nothing is really good.
That's the life total remaining. Socrates went down to 2, so that would have been a win if there was an all swing the previous turn or two. So that was really interesting and a very strategic play from Socrates. It's not a jerk move. Sometimes you play within the constraints of the game, and the game has a time counter, and he didn't stall out. He just recognised that he didn't attack.
I don't think he slow played, and I think it was on Jay to A, draw something relevant, and B, actually probably just do a bit of the maths and work out, okay, I need a swing.
Yeah, both of them could have done the math, because Socrates could have secured a win by attacking. With
I agree.
Yep. But either way, it was a very interesting game, really cool to see the back and forth. Thank you everyone for watching. We're Adelaide Eternal, and we'll see you in the final round, round 5.
Look forward to it.